Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll show you how I made a rock golem in the style of the rogue idol for my Iron Jaws Age of Sigmar army. Here's the reference image I used, and you could buy this model on Forge World, not available anymore, so I thought I'd give it a go, make my own, grab some insulation foam, and show you the process I used to make him. Now I'm going to split this into two parts. In this video I'll show you how I made the model, and then I'll do another video showing how I paint him. So here's the one I made as a mock-up, just to give you an idea of the size so I could get the proportions right. Then I've got some tools that I'll be using, including the hot gun, that's pretty crucial to this. I've got a hot wire cutter that broke, and then I've got a base that matches the correct size for the model in Age of Sigmar. The hot gun I use, I make sure it's on the 60 watt setting. You can get these on Amazon pretty cheap. I'll put a link down below to the one I've got or one similar. Here's the base, and this again matches the size for the Iron Jaws, and you can buy these from Games Workshop or on eBay. I got these from eBay, and you can see this is going to be 105mm across by 170mm, which is the correct size. I also used some cocktail sticks just for some extra support. Now I was going to use my hot wire cutter, but it completely broke. I took it apart, checked the switch, but the whole thing's just had it, so I had to revert to the old school method of using a really sharp knife. So I got my favourite Spyderco UK PK knife, and this is going to do the job. It's really important to have a sharp knife here, and the bigger blade is better than a craft knife. And then I've got my ruler. I've got some other things here that I'll be using once I've painted the model. Some Citadel skulls that I spray on the sprue, which is a nice tip to get them done quickly. Also some rocks and gravel, little bits of twigs, some coarse flocking that I'll be adding in, and then my favourite Vallejo earth texture paste, but that will come in the next video. The main thing you need to get hold of are these insulation sheets. Now I like the different thicknesses. This one is the black one in 6mm, and then you've got the 30mm pink sheets. You can get these on eBay. I find they're the best price. I'll put some links down below so you can find them easily. Then I'm going to use my knife just to cut out the rough shapes first, and then use this piece here as my guide. So I'm just going to work my way through, do a little line first to get the guide, and then just work that knife in there, doing a couple of cuts, and then once you've gone all the way through, you find you can just snap this off and it does a nice cut. And then I'll take that and then portion it up into some nice chunks so that it matches those ones that I did for the mock-up earlier. Again, just run your knife through, snap it off, really easy, and then just work along, getting as many pieces together as you want at first. You don't have to get it all done. You could just do the feet, then go on to the knees, then onto the thighs, but I'm just cutting a few bits in advance just to save time. A lot quicker doing it like this. Then the little bits I can cut into toes. You've got to be careful as you cut across the grain, so that's why the big blade and the sharp knife comes in handy. A hot wire cutter is the best thing, but if you haven't got one, you don't need to have one, you can use a sharp knife, but very important to stress that it must be really sharp. Then I'm just going to work my knife around on each of the little squares that I've made, and then just slice at different angles. And the important thing here with these rocks is the more angles you can create, the more texture you'll add to the piece. So when you do the dry brushing in the painting stage, you'll pick out all those nice edges. So the more you can get cutting at different angles, the better. It also makes it interesting when you put two pieces together. You get those nice curves and contrasted angles. It just looks a lot more natural. So now I'm just going to get a couple of pieces, and then I'm going to put them up where the feet will go. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll start shaping them using that method I just showed you. And I'll probably just put some cocktail sticks into the feet and the lower parts of the legs just to help it. But with the hot glue, that's really going to help and make it super strong. You probably don't need these cocktail sticks, but I find it's handy just to even just do a little mock-up like this to put it in place. And that one on the left is held together purely by cocktail sticks. Now things are really starting to get going. I've shaped the 2 feet, all the toes, and the big toes as well. Now it's time to add some weight to this, because this insulation foam is quite light, so I want to put in some coins just to give it a little bit of weight at the bottom. And so all I do here is just take a coin, take my knife, and then work around. Just be careful with this. You might want to switch to a craft knife, but I like doing it with this knife all the way through. And then just cut around that coin, taking your time, and then just gently slice that out. Again, just really working it in until you've made a nice little house for those coins to sit in. And there you go, they're going to fit in nice and snug, but we're going to glue those in place with a hot gun. I'm using two 2 pence pieces, any coins will do. So here we go. Let's grab that hot gun. Again, it's on 60 watts. If you put it on the higher setting, it will melt the foam. So just be aware of that. And also really hurts your fingers if you get hold of it. So there we go. 1 coin's in. I'll put more hot glue over the top and then pop the other coin on top. Give it a good squidge in so it sets in. And that's going to be nice and flush now with the bottom of the foam. I can add some more hot glue to that and then pop it on the base. And that's going to give us a really strong set glue to hold this in place. That little bit of weight is really helpful, especially when you're picking the model up all the time. If it's too light, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. So a little bit of weight, I think, is necessary. Then I continue gluing now with the toes. So I just have a look where they're going to go, put the glue on the base, on that other piece of foam, and then push them into place. And so strong, this glue. I really like using the hot glue guns for these kind of projects. It certainly does the job well. Added a few extra coins underneath, just 1 penny coins this time, and that's really give it a nice solid base now. And then the next stage is just to work your way up. So I did the knees, put some cocktail sticks through there and glued them in place with that hot glue, and then started carving out the next rocks, working my way up to the thighs there, and then glued those in place. Added a few little offcuts for the kneecaps, and then a big chunky bit that's going to go in and act as the pelvis. This chunky bit will also serve as part of the torso, so I'm going to make sure that it's wedged in on its own, and when I'm happy with the fit, then I just start to carve away at it, making it rock-like, always using that reference picture and filling in any gaps with little extra pieces that I've trimmed off or carving out some smaller rocks. Don't worry about bits like this because we're going to cover that up once it's painted, and we'll add flocking and everything to it at the final stage. Now we've got the upper part of the torso, and I'm just imagining where I'm going to put other rocks, and so I'm cutting all different angles, trying to get as much surface texture as I can, and then I'm going to glue on all different pieces onto that one big chunky bit, and that's really going to sell the idea that it's just come to life out of a pile of rocks. So I'll cut a slice off, add the glue on, and then just put on all these flatter rocks onto there. And they're almost looking like muscles as well. That's the way I'm thinking. You've got like all the different muscles building him up. So he wants to look chunky, as if he's going to do some serious damage on the battlefield. I popped another bit of cocktail stick in there, trimmed it off, added some more hot glue, and that's really all there is to it. Pop the torso on there, make sure the angle's right. He's kind of twisted to the left a little bit because his arm's going to be up in the air, as you can see on the other model. So you want to make it look like he is actually in a fluid motion. And then with the head, I'll take one big chunky bit and just roughly carve out the shape of that. Offer it up to the model. I'll trim the back so I can get a little bit of an angle and then get to work on the front. Now here, I'm being really careful. I'm not putting any pressure. I'm just scoring it. So I'm not cutting down. Don't worry about my thumb there. I'm in complete control of this knife. And then I'm just scoring out the outline. When I'm happy with that, I then do the nose as well, pop that in place, and then we're going to just use a pencil to do the eyes. I'm just going to literally push the pencil in. I don't want it to be neat, I want it to be quite scruffy. It is an eye gouged out of a rock after all, by some Auroch weird knob, so I'm not too worried about making this neat, and then just spin that around, and that'll give us the effect we want for the eyes. Then I cut everything out of that mouth section and use the pencil just to smooth it down. All that texture is going to add to the effect actually, but I wasn't happy with the top teeth I cut out. So I got another little piece of foam, carved it out. I'll just trim off a little bit of that, and then I super glue that in place, and that looked a lot better. I was much happier. And that's the great thing with this foam. You make a mistake, you can just trim it off, add another bit, glue it in place. By the time it's painted, and you could put a bit of filler in if you wanted, you won't see it. So there is a line there at the moment, but we'll get rid of that. Added a bit extra there for the jaw, but I really like how hollow the mouth is because it's really giving the idea that this is going to bite into the enemy. Then loads of hot glue, stick it in place, and as I've trimmed it off, I'll get that angle so he's looking to the left a little bit, and then I'll just twist it slightly, which adds a load of character to the model. Then it's just a case of building up with lots of flatter pieces to, again, give that idea that this is a construction of all different types and sizes of rocks. We're starting to get there now. I've had a little bit of work on the arm, just building that up. I haven't used any cocktail sticks here, just glue, and that's going to be strong enough. And I'm just working the arms up until all I've got left to do are the fists. But first, we need to give him a big butt. And here I've carved that out of another section. And so I'll just trim off the back there. I felt it didn't look right like that. It needed a bum, so let's put it on there. So I'll just get my knife, cut that piece of foam off, and then we can add some hot glue. and then glue those two cheeks on there nicely. That's better. That looks a lot nicer now. We'll add a few trims and smaller rocks so it doesn't stand out too much, and then it blends in with the back piece. So you can see there, it's got lots covered over it. Now time to do those fists, and here I've got almost 2 cube sizes, and I haven't measured these, I'm just using the foam and the size of it. The only thing I used the ruler for really was to get the height correct. I wanted to make sure it matched up with the model from Forge World. Then here I put fingers on there, a thumb, and now this looks like some kind of crazy fist that is going to smash into the enemy. Glued it on with hot glue again, added a few trims in there to cover the gaps and give an idea that it's got some knuckles. I was really happy with how it was turning out so far. I did the same on the other arm, just left that hanging down, and then that's pretty much it. This is the build stage complete now, so here he is, and I'm again really pleased with this. I think for the price it cost hardly anything. I've used 3 glue sticks at 10p each, a little bit of foam, not even £1 so far, and now I'm going to use some cheap PVA from the hobby store, some cheap paint, black paint, mix the two together. I guess I'm doing roughly 2 parts PVA to 1 part paint. Give that a really good mix together so it's thoroughly incorporated, and then I'm going to give it 2 coats. So this first coat took overnight to dry, takes a while PVA, but this afternoon I was able to give it a second coat, and then I'll let that dry overnight now, and then tomorrow I can get to work painting it, and then I'll make another video so you can see how that turned out. There he is, completely covered now with 2 coats of this paint, nice and thick. That's going to seal it all in. And the reason I've used this PVA and glue is because you want to seal it in. If you just sprayed this foam, it would melt it and all your hard work would be ruined. But there we go. That's it. That's the process of building a rock golem in the style of the Rogue Idol, using some insulation foam, a knife and some hot glue. If you're a fan of the Orruk war clans, especially the Iron Jaws, then check out the videos I've been doing lately as I go through my army build. I've done unboxing videos, and I've got loads more to come, painting and everything, where you can see me putting together this really fun army of Iron Jaws, and the Rogue Idol is going to be joining them and getting stuck in on the battlefield. I hope you found this video helpful and it motivated you to get started maybe making some different models that you can use in your tabletop games. And thanks so much for watching. If you did like it, please hit the like button. Subscribe for more videos like this one, and hopefully I'll see you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games, where I'll be painting this beast and getting him ready for battle. A big thanks to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep going with these daily videos. I'm on a mission to grow the Patreon group so I can start producing more content for the channel, more varied subjects, and do more builds like this as well. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the link below. It'll be awesome to see you there.